man. Gotta do that again. Okay, here we go. Oh man, it's gonna be harder than I thought. So I've been making whips for about 10 years now, and to this day, as I talk to you through this camera, I have still not cut a can in half with a whip. It's a very popular trick amongst the whip cracking community. So today we're gonna get this done, and also I'm gonna show you guys how you can do it too. Now, in order to cut a can in half with a whip, we have to be able to hit a vertical target. Now, unlike hitting horizontal targets, which just require a normal cattleman's crack like this, for a vertical target, we not only have the challenge of hitting the target and being accurate, being precise, but we also have gravity working against us, pushing down 90 degrees on the whip. So because of this, we have to compensate a little bit and aim slightly higher than we normally would. Depending on how much we have to compensate and aim high depends on a couple of things. The mass of the whip, how much it weighs, and also the length of the whip. Typically, the longer the whip is, the more we have to kind of compensate and aim high to make up for that gravity that's pushing down on the whip. The most popular way that I've seen people hit these vertical targets is by means of raising the whip up, almost like you would with a cattleman's crack, just up like this. But we kind of tilt it on its side at an angle, and once the whip starts to go off in that angle, we can adjust from a vertical plane to a horizontal plane mid-swing, and that's kind of the most basic way that I've seen people do this. It would look something like this, like that. So as you can see, we're going up, and then I'm right about here changing that plane. I'm transitioning to a horizontal slice, about like that. Another basic way that we can hit a vertical target is by means of swinging the whip behind us, pausing when the whip is fully extended, and then abruptly pushing it forward. And this is easier because you don't have to transition from a vertical plane to a horizontal plane. That would look something like this. So the whip swings out behind us, there's a pause right here, and forward. The whip didn't crack that time, but I think you guys get the idea. And one more time, back, pause, forward. Now the last way that we can hit a vertical target is by means of a side flick. Now this is easier to do with a longer whip, and I'm going to show you in just a second with a 12-foot nylon bullwhip. This is a 12-foot 20-plat nylon bullwhip, and this one's going to Timothy, and he was very kind in letting me use this whip for demonstration purposes in this video. So Timothy, thanks so much. I really appreciate it, and I promise I'll be taking good care of your whip. So I'm going to need to step back a little bit because this whip is obviously a lot longer, double the length of the 6-footer. So if I wanted to cut a target with a long whip like this, there's really one way that we can do it. I shouldn't say that, there's always more than one way, but the most efficient way to cut a vertical target with a long whip is to have the whip trailing behind you from the get-go. At this point, we can take a little step forward, and I'm just going to flick that wrist to the side like that. So that will look something like this. As you can see, I'm all over the place. A lot of practice. Come on, Nick. There we go. So that's the best way to do it with a long whip, in my personal opinion. I suppose you could, if you got a lot of upper body strength, you could use the old method like that, but I think it's just best to have the whip trailing behind you, a little step forward, little throw. The loop from the get-go is on that horizontal plane, so there's no transitioning from vertical to horizontal. The ideal types of whips to use for cutting cans are whips that are slightly heavier than your normal whip, and that's just because you want more mass transferred down to the cracker with ease. So something like a performance hybrid whip, a short, very light stock whip, you could still use, but it probably wouldn't be as easy as perhaps a more hardy 6-foot bullwhip or perhaps a 12-foot bullwhip. Something with a lot of mass to begin with is ideal for this. And that's not to say you can't use any type of whip. You certainly can, it's just going to be a little more challenging. One of the most important components of a whip for cutting cans is the cracker. This is a Kevlar cracker, and if you'll notice here, it's a very long cracker. And this is made of Kevlar, and there's a link in the description where you can buy Kevlar thread. If you use that Amazon link, I get a small cut of that. So if you choose to use that link, that'd be awesome. You'll notice that there is a series of knots tied. This is something that I learned through watching Adam Winrich's videos. And the idea is you get more mass, and each one of those little knots creates a heavy, low wind profile point, so it's able to sail through the air without much drag because of that weight. In addition to that, because it's heavier, when it strikes the can, each one of those little knots just kind of offers a little more force to cut through the can. So when we go to cut the can, we want the cracker itself to be hitting the can at the moment the whip cracks. If the whip cracks slightly before it strikes the can, chances are it's going to be at that point already slowed down too much to cause any penetration on the can. Maybe a few little points here where you hit the can and it sprays out the contents of the can. That's probably all you would get unless you get this thing to strike the can at the moment of the crack. On the other end of the scale, if you strike the can with the cracker before it's had a chance to exceed the speed of sound, it probably won't be going quick enough to penetrate the can. So the idea behind this is that sweet spot, that timing. Really focus on where the whip is cracking. When do you hear the crack? And try to get it right on the can as it's breaking the speed of sound. I'd like to tell you right now that I'm giving away 5 of these Kevlar can cutting crackers. 2 things you guys have to do: like the video and leave a comment, any comment you want. You could even say, I hate you. You'll still be entered to win. And now this is where the fun begins, or perhaps the intense frustration. First off, what I'm using is actually sparkling water. And several whip makers have noted, and they made a good point, that this stuff has no sugar in it. It's not going to get your whip all sticky. That's good. In addition to that, you do not have to shake your can and get the pressure high inside for this to work. It does help. Physics just says that if there's something that's under pressure and you cut it, that pressure inside is going to help it separate. But Adam Winrich just did a video a couple weeks ago, I believe it was, where he took a can and he opened it up and he was still able to cut the can in half. So you don't have to shake it, but it helps. And because I'm quite a beginner at can cutting, I'm going to shake it up because I need the extra help. So that being said, oh, I can hear all the carbonation inside. I thought the can was opened already, but it's not. Now, earlier I was cracking this whip way too violently. I was underestimating the natural power of a whip while it's cracking. So I've had some time to kind of think about this, and I've realized that you don't have to muscle it so much. I should have known better. So we're going to take the first approach that we mentioned to begin with, where we lift the whip up, tilt it on its side, and attempt to cut the can that way. Now I'm just kind of draping the whip like this, just doing overhand throws like this, just kind of measuring, seeing where the cracker is. And we want the cracker to be making contact with the can exactly when the whip is cracking. So let's give that a try. We're gonna go up to the side. It's so tempting to want to just muscle the whip as hard as you can, because you have this idea in your head that, oh, it takes so much force to do it, but it doesn't. It's sort of like swinging a hammer excessively hard. You don't necessarily need to. The hammer is built to do that. So just letting it fall and do the work for you is kind of what we're looking at here. So I'm aiming low. I need to raise the whip up because gravity is winning this battle right now. So I need to aim higher. There we go. I intentionally aimed much higher than I did last time. So if you notice the positioning of that slice, this kind of tells me that I'm not transitioning to that horizontal plane sufficiently. I'm still kind of oriented in the cattleman's crack for cutting horizontal targets. So I need to be more vertical, but I'm happy with that. It's a good start. Let's try another one. I'm telling you guys, all you whip crackers out there who do this a lot, you make it look easy. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Striking low. you'll have a lot of that. Woo. I don't know what happened there, but how did that even happen? I have no idea. That's a little better. I didn't get complete separation, but at least the slash mark is more horizontal than the first one. So I'm pretty satisfied with that, I guess. There's plenty of improvement. But let's go ahead and switch to the 12-foot whip and just try that sidearm flick method and see if I can even hit the can. I'm gonna be using that sidearm flick method that we talked about. Have the whip just trailing behind me and just get the measurement correct. Seeing where that cracker falls, that looks good. And 3, 2, 1. Definitely way high on that one. There we go. Here we have the top. So once again, because we started from that horizontal plane, I was able to get the cut right across the bottom of the can. And notice I barely even threw the whip, just enough to get it to crack. That's something that I learned while making this video. You don't have to just be so aggressive with the whip and throw it harder than you normally would. Form is more important than strength. Let's try another one. Woo, that was perfect. So we didn't even hear a crack that time, and that's because the whip, while it was traveling through air, didn't have a chance to exceed the speed of sound. I'm guessing that right when it hit the can, that was when it accelerated past the speed of sound. So we never heard a sonic boom because outside the can, the whip was not breaking the speed of sound. So that's really interesting how that just worked out. It's very jagged. I have not been able to cut a can to where it's still sitting there, like you see some guys do it, but we'll keep going. Maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't. I've really been enjoying throwing this 12-foot whip. I don't have a lot of 12-foot whips laying around the shop unless I get an order. And this one was fun to make. Cracks very well. If you want one like this, visit nickswhipshop.com. I can replicate this exact same color scheme for you. So here we go. Let's try to get that perfect cut. Leave half the can sitting on the platform, shall we? Getting better. So they're still cutting so jagged. I don't know, that might be because my cracker is not heavy enough. Maybe it gets halfway through the can and it slows down completely. I don't know, not sure. A little low on that one. A little bit cleaner of a cut, but still no cigar as far as keeping the bottom of the can there. Try a couple more. I'm gonna switch back to the 6-foot whip. I'm gonna try the method with the shorter whip where I swing it back that we talked about earlier and see if that doesn't help me get a better contact point on the can. That looks about right there. Ah, man. We're just gonna go with it. We're just gonna go with it. Can we cut it before it runs out of stuff? I don't know. Do you think I was low? Is that proof that I was low? Absolutely. Okay. I don't think there's much liquid left in that can, so if I'm able to cut it and keep it staying there, it's going to be a miracle. I can't believe it. Wow, well, that's what I wanted to do. And there it is. I'm so happy. This is the tradition that you see, you gotta drink your... Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm pretty bad at this, but I learned a lot. I wasted $10, and I hope you enjoyed it. Get some cans, preferably some cheaper sparkling water, and get your whip and have some fun. So thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please do hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you all in the next one.